everyone, and thank you for joining us here on the Recruitment Roundup podcast, which is brought to you by BMS Performance. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, BMS Performance is a specialist sales and marketing recruitment consultancy. For the last 30 years, we've been helping businesses across the UK recruit for vacancies at every level. I'm your host, Mike Leather, and every week I'll be joined by a new guest where we'll get stuck into the latest trends in regards to recruitment. We'll talk about insights, we share ideas, we share experiences, and ultimately we look to provide value to fundamentally help you, whether or not you're a hiring manager, a business leader, or part of an internal talent team, to recruit smarter, faster, and more effectively. So welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Recruitment Roundup podcast. Thanks for joining us again this week. As usual, I'm your host, Mike Leather, and I'm joined by
Sam Musiera, the co-host. How are you doing, Mike? You okay?
Oof. You gave your surname with some oomph there.
Really?
You really did. That was good.
Yeah.
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. I think it's because I'm super excited. I'm down in London at our brand new office. For those of you guys that are listening, we've just moved office to a brand new WeWork building. It's right in the city centre, the hub of London. And yeah, on my way down, I was just really excited to walk over London Bridge. Never been on London Bridge before. Been in this country for
I think I have once.
Yeah, I've never. So like, such a tourist on my way in, looking at all the sights, and yeah. So I think that's probably what it is, right? I'm just running on a high of just being in a big city, and yeah. Definitely sheep in the big city is how I'm feeling today.
Do you want to introduce what we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. So, really excited to dive into this topic. I think it goes on theme based on the time of the year that we're in. Going back to some of the episodes that we've recorded, it's very much been on par in terms of discussing the impact of recruiting this time of the year, why we should still be pushing to recruit this time of the year. But we thought we'd switch it up today. And sort of look at the importance of an effective sales onboarding. The reason why, I thought it would be a really good topic to discuss is I think there tends to be, as a business, I'm just thinking about our team, we're also going through a period of, onboarding, bringing on new starters. And a lot of our clients that we engage with are probably going through a similar time right now. Where they've successfully, brought in individuals to work within sales. And yeah, I thought it'd be a really good topic for us to really get into the meats of it and the real crux of it. And yeah, just to make sure that we're sharing best practice to hopefully, help, any organization to be as effective as they can be to get their salespeople effectively onboarded to absolutely hit the ground running is the idea.
Yeah, definitely. I really like it. I think we talk a lot, don't we, about recruitment and how to get people through the door and sales tips, but not as much on onboarding, which is like equally as important, right? Do all the hard work.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Fill your vacancy, and then the onboarding is poor, and then that person doesn't achieve what they might have, and that ownership of that is with the with the company, with us, isn't it? Can I ask a question then to just kick this off?
Go on.
Like, when does onboarding start?
Oh, it's a really, really good question. And I was thinking back to this, and I truly believe if you're really good at onboarding staff, your onboarding process essentially starts once that contract's been signed. Once that contract's signed, once you've got an acceptance that this person's going to be joining your business, if we were to really genuinely work backwards, it's before day one. Once we've got that confirmation that this person's walking through, the process has essentially started there, because we've got that what's called that sort of murky water period where they're essentially your employee. So I believe when we're starting sort of a day in, when it's probably a bit too late. So the onboarding process starts once we've got that confirmation, once that contract's signed, once we're waiting for that person to come in through those doors, because that's such a pivotal time to make sure that we're all good to get them going.
So the first pillar here that we're going to talk around is prep before day one. Something that you just said there, which I really liked. And I don't think companies think about it in this way.
Yeah.
You just said that murky time, they're
Yeah.
your employee.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think a lot of companies think that, do they? They think, well, they've not started with us yet, so they're not our employee. And
Yeah.
legally, they're not, because
Yeah.
they've not started, they've
Yeah.
not walked through the door. But that's a great place to start this, like that
Yeah.
mindset of they are your employee before they start and the
Yeah.
onboarding journey
Yeah.
like starts there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really, really does. And I'm trying to think back as to if we think about if you're a candidate and you've had, an offer letter come through and you've signed the contract and, we're going on the presumption that everything's all good. Yeah, this person's going to be joining our organization. Um, what if we're starting this day one, or if we're waiting for them to like then start and then starting to simulate them and show them what it's going to be like to work within this business? It doesn't create that real positive experience from their end either. You almost want to maintain that positive feeling that they've had from accepting the role, getting the contract through, getting the contract signed, and then that journey almost needs to be like a consistent on an upward trajectory, so that by the time we're here day one, we're just using that momentum, we're pushing our way through. So, you know, it starts there. It really does. I'm a firm believer in that.
What for sales leaders like listening, that this like concept might be
Yeah.
illuminating for them, or even sales leaders that listen that think, well, we once people have started, that's really like when the onboarding starts. What sort of things could those people like do you think? I've got my own ideas on this as well.
Yeah.
I'm much keen to hear your thoughts of things that they can do
Yeah.
to help prep candidates before they actually join.
Before they walk through day one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, it's a great question. So, before someone's, started, preparation could be perhaps sharing information
yeah,
regarding, potential marketing stuff that, the company that might be doing right now. So it could be data on, what they're looking to do, data on products,
yeah.
the unique selling points of these products. So it's almost like going back into exam mode, just to make sure that you're learning all the key things in terms of go-to-market strategy as well. Potentially, maybe even learning about what an ideal customer profile could be, just to making sure that you are ahead of the game in that sense. These are all things I'm thinking about, the things that are probably like literature based. Making sure that all of this has been, passed forward to that candidate, because people anywhere, any sort of way that we can cut down on time and save on time, because we almost want to be doing the activities in terms of actions, in terms of selling, in terms of role playing when we're actually starting. So anything that could be sort of literature based, that could be a really good point to start as point number one.
Well, but if you look at like the sales environment that
Yeah.
we're in at the moment, and
Yeah.
like what we're also in. I mean, one of the biggest challenges for sales leaders is getting new starters ramped up and
Yeah.
contributing ASAP, isn't it? Like the
Yeah.
business pressures for that now, or on that, are just consistent across every sector. Like we
Absolutely.
want people to
Yeah.
come in,
Yeah.
they have experience or not. We want them
Yeah.
to be contributing ASAP.
Yeah.
Um, and that like journey of development can definitely start, can't it? Before they join. Some of the things that I've seen
Yeah.
companies do that I've worked with, and things that we've done, like you said, send materials, podcasts.
Podcast. Yeah.
We had a recent new starter in our team, didn't we? Who we sent them some books
Yeah.
to help them learn the type of sales methodology that we
Yeah.
use at
Yeah.
BMS. One
Yeah.
of the things I like about that as well is it does show you how engaged the person
Yeah.
is before they join, and it shows you've
Yeah.
got that appetite for learning. And
Yeah.
the individual who we won't name, who came
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
has done like a
Yeah.
pretty good job in terms
Yeah.
of getting up and running quicker. Had he not done that before he
Yeah.
started, I
Yeah.
think he probably wouldn't have been able to get into as many good conversations. But it's both parties have got to come to
Yeah.
the table with that. The
Yeah.
company have got to provide the information. The candidate starting's got to want to do it.
Yeah.
And then like the things that you said about like materials, product information,
Yeah,
anything they can absorb more
yeah,
information before they start, they're going to be
yeah.
able to get going quicker. As well, I mean, we've seen companies haven't. I'm not sure how I feel about this particular point, but
Hmm.
and you can give me your thoughts. But some companies do invite candidates to
Yeah,
sales meetings
yeah,
before they've
yeah,
joined. I
yeah,
think the no-go
yeah,
is inviting people to socials before they've joined. Like I've seen
yeah.
that go really bad. I've
Oh
seen that
God,
go really bad. But
I
what
feel
do you
like
think
there's a
on
story in there.
yeah, well, there's several stories
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that. What do you think about inviting people that haven't officially started to
yeah.
meetings? Do you think it's a good thing or do you think it's a bad thing?
I think it's a great thing. To be
Yeah,
honest with you, I think it's a great thing because look, the person that's going to be starting with you, of course, is under no obligation to have to do this, right? But
mm,
I think if I'm a candidate, and I've had this recently actually, where they've been invited to a sales meeting and they've wanted to do that. They've
yeah,
absolutely gone, yes, I want to meet the members of the team because they want to feel, you know, as if they're part of the team immediately from their end too. So then when day one starts, that's almost fast tracking that process. So I think it's a really, really good thing. And I'm a massive advocate for pushing for that, because we're increasing that engagement, we're increasing the chances of success, but also that keeping that real positive feeling, which is what we're looking to do.
mm,
I've also had it in other ways where like I recently placed a clinical specialist role with a diagnostic imaging manufacturer, and there's an exhibition that's happening I think towards the end of the year, and you know they really offer the candidate the opportunity to travel out to, I think it's in Scotland, I believe, and
before they
they're like,
started.
yeah, they were
Yeah,
like, look, of course, no, you're not under no obligation to be able to, to make this trip, but if you are free, if you want to make the trip, we would absolutely love to have you to do this. What are your thoughts? And Candid was absolutely chomping at the bit, because from their end, it's their first opportunity to, join them as a business, but also they've got their real passion for the industry themselves.
yeah.
So, again, it's an opportunity to meet members of the team that will be there, but also it's an opportunity to learn, to meet people, to network, to have good conversations so that when you are in the business day one, you're almost like, 2 months down the line compared to where you would have been if you're coming in from a standing start.
Yeah, that's interesting. Going to an exhibition. Fair play to the company. I think
Yeah,
it's very difficult for that situation, though, isn't it? Now where the candidate decides that they're
absolutely.
just not going to start.
Yeah,
So, like the things that we're talking about here, prep before
yeah,
day one as the first player and getting that right.
yeah,
Get that right, then the candidate
yeah,
should hopefully walk through the door.
yeah,
Which is like fundamentally
yeah,
what we're trying to do, aren't we? As
yeah,
well as make sure that when they join, they're
yeah,
in the place where they can put the best foot forward and contribute
yeah,
as quickly as possible. But
yeah,
as important as that is
yeah,
making sure they walk through the door.
yeah,
If there's no prep before day one and there's no contact and the candidate just knows that they're turning up on day one but doesn't know what they're going to be doing, there's a lack of engagement there, which means
yeah,
the candidate doesn't start. So, like
yeah.
making sure that the candidate knows what's happening on day one. And just to kind of round off this point, unless you've got any others to talk about on this pillar,
Yeah.
I think one really nice thing that companies can do to make people feel welcome is ask people in the team that this person's going to be part of
Yeah.
to reach out and connect on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Nice little
Yeah.
welcome message,
Yeah.
little things like that'll go a long way. That's best. Oh, that's yeah. No, they've had a really good experience. The candidate has gone through the interview process. Obviously, they like the company and they bought into them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be joining.
Yeah.
And you were talking before about like that good feeling, that
Yeah.
positivity. It's just something little, isn't it, that you could do. Get a nice message from people that are going to be in your team. Again, it's just gonna
Yeah.
make you look forward to joining. A
Yeah.
small little thing.
Yeah. I absolutely love it, Mike, and it costs nothing.
Nothing.
It
Yeah,
costs
exactly.
absolutely
Just a
nothing.
sales leader saying,
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
this. Everyone, we've got
Yeah.
this person
Yeah.
joining. Appreciate if you
Yeah.
all reach out. And
Yeah.
again, that should hopefully mean the person comes in. But when they come
Yeah.
in, there's
Yeah.
always some nervousness. It's like first day at school, isn't it?
Yeah.
But some of that is just like dissipated a little bit because they've already introduced themselves. They've already
Yeah.
connected with them on LinkedIn. And again, just to take it back to a more serious end,
Yeah.
if the candidate isn't accepting them LinkedIn
Yeah.
connection requests, then we've probably got a problem, haven't we? Or they
Well,
aren't
there we go.
responding.
No,
They aren't
yeah, that's a good
responding
point.
back.
Yeah, again, it's a good point.
So like there's a good reason as well for that to happen, because we want to
Yeah,
make sure people are walking through the door. But I just thought that was a quite nice thing for
yeah,
people to be doing. That's fairly easy and straightforward. So that person comes bouncing through the door on day one.
absolutely. Takes us into point number 2,
Yeah.
Mike. Yeah, so I'll probably lead with this one. See the importance of just once we've got this person in day one, just providing a comprehensive training plan. And I've sort of split this into a couple of things that I think businesses should be looking to do, and making sure that this training plan is comprehensive and is ticking all the key things to increase the chances of success. Now, one of the things that I wanted to speak about were product knowledge specifically. So if you're in a product-based role, if you're selling a medical device or a piece of equipment or an instrument, just making sure that that training is comprehensive and it touches on that. There's nothing worse than being a salesperson who's going to sell a product and have no form of training or support on what the solution is. Working in recruitment, I can't explain the amount of times where candidates are like, I've never had any training on the product. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to leave. So I know it just sounds like such a basic thing to do. I feel like some companies take this for granted. So making sure that we are touching on that product-based training is a key point, number one. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah, 100%. I'd also caveat this with, we want a comprehensive training, we want great induction. In order to maximize that, we've got to know how the person we're recruiting actually learns. Now, we might have uncovered that in our interview process, but we might not have. So like the 4 different learning styles: visual, audio, so people that learn through listening, reading, writing, and then you've got the doers, people that actually just need to do it. And I think, when we're trying to design inductions for people at BMS, you have to get the theory and the practical balance right. You have to, because otherwise, like, you could give someone loads of theory on the product, like for 2-3 weeks, without them actually seeing it sold practically, or being able to be involved in that. So that practical bit can come through making sure they've got structured shadowing in place, but also, and I know it's something you're going to come on to, so we're fast tracking a little bit, on role plays as well. I mean, most people don't like role plays, and I don't think a lot of sales leaders also like doing them as well. But they're so useful, like, just on this point, aren't they? And this is where that practical bit can come in as well. It's all well and good, let's give them the product knowledge, the sales processes, etc. But there can be too much theory. So when you're building that induction program, it should be a really good balance, so you're catering for the learning style. I think. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's really, really good, Mike. And I love the fact that you touched on the learning styles, because this is something that, I'm learning myself within my role in terms of, some of the starters that we've got on board, right? Because not everyone learns the same. So it's a really good opportunity to perhaps take stock. I don't think anyone's probably ever asked me, Sam, how do you like to receive information? How are you going to absorb it the most, right? So the exam style way of reading and writing might work really well for other people, but some people learn by doing. So I just wanted to give you kudos, Mike, for that point. I think it's a really, really good point. But in terms of role plays and the importance of them, I couldn't agree with you anymore. There has to be that balance, in the sense of you've got all this knowledge, but putting it into practice. And no salesperson, I don't think I've ever met a salesperson who loves, doing a role play, but, reiterating it and getting stuck in are the perfect ways to learn.
I think ownership of that, though, comes from the person that's like the sales leader or sales manager, to actually make the role play environment one that's like, it's fun, It's
Yeah.
learning. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if we
Yeah.
fail.
Yeah.
It's challenging.
Yeah.
Have a bit of a laugh with it.
Absolutely.
I do think like when people are building induction programs and
Mm,
training,
mm.
there's a bit of a stigma around throwing people in
Yeah.
the deep end. Like if you think about just going back to what you said about candidates' reason for leaving, we haven't had any product training,
Mm.
product knowledge, whatever. But just going back to the learning styles, some people will benefit from that. There's
Yeah.
people that I've recruited at
Yeah.
BMS, and we got them making calls, doing the job on day
Mm.
3
Yeah.
because that was how
Yeah.
they said this is the best way for me. Like keeping them in a
Yeah.
classroom probably
Yeah.
wasn't going to be
Yeah.
the best thing to do. And this is something that I've made up, by the way,
Yeah.
coming into this podcast. But I just think from a training side of it, there's 4 S's. So systems,
Yeah.
which is your CRM, sales, which is the approach, like
Yeah.
how do we do that, and covers everything from your questioning, um, finding data, how to book meetings, all the rest, everything involved in
Yeah.
sales. Solution, which is like your selling of what you're selling, like why
Yeah.
do people actually use us? What do we
Yeah.
do? And the support piece, which is the shadow. Like if you can get all of that into your training and
Yeah.
it's that nice balance and we're catering for learning styles, then probably gonna give people a
Yeah.
reasonable chance of being
Yeah.
successful. But it's
Yeah.
like it's planning it out, I think, and it's making sure that it's not like a one size fits all.
Yeah.
And that's why candidates ask you in an interview, what's the induction? Well, it depends on who it is that we're recruiting. Unless you're in a business where there's legislation involved and regulation, and then there has to therefore be uniformity
Yeah.
to some part of it.
Love the
I
four
think,
S's, Mike.
yeah,
Love the
I
four
just made
S's.
it up. So
Yeah, no,
yeah.
no, no, no. No, it's
Well, I think
yeah.
I think it covers. Yeah, I think it
Uh,
covers like all the main areas. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. Fantastic. I don't know whether you wanted to go over point number 3,
Yeah, can
your end
do.
at
I
all.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
the third pillar of this,
Yeah.
we've called pillar 1, pillar 2, this
Yeah.
is pillar 3. Um, is having clear goals and milestones. Like why is that important?
Mm.
Loads of reasons. Because people that we're recruiting are in a point where they need to be directed and told and
Yeah.
how to do things. We
Yeah.
can't just leave them to it.
Yeah.
And then therefore they need to know where they need to be.
Yeah.
It's good from a morale standpoint because, again, how many times have you worked with candidates and they've gone into a role, they've had a couple of days of training, and it's been go on, yeah, crack on. They don't really know what is
Yeah.
expected of them. I
Yeah.
think that then creates a bit of anxiety
Yeah.
because people don't like uncertainty. People like to know, like, where am I? Am I doing a good job? Hopefully, we're in sales because we're target driven and we like working
Yeah.
targets. Therefore, we need to
Yeah.
know what expectations are.
Yeah.
Um, there's that side of it,
Yeah.
which is absolutely key.
Yeah.
And I think having clear goals and
Yeah.
milestones
Yeah.
are really important. And this is just taking a more serious tone as well,
Yeah.
because we can put people through a really good assessment and interview process, but you don't always know if people are gonna work out, do you?
No.
Sometimes there'll be people that you recruit and they surprise you. Other times, people that recruit and you think they're gonna be amazing, and they actually don't reach the heights that you thought they would. So I think if you've got clear goals and
Yeah.
milestones, it helps you benchmark the
Yeah.
person you've recruited from a capability standpoint and identify issues early. Like if someone is failing against the
Yeah.
standards that you've set,
Yeah.
then it helps you work out whether or not that person is the right hire.
Yeah.
And that comes down from onboarding, because if we're not making factual decisions on people's performance because we haven't got any milestones and goals in place, then that
Yeah.
ends up costing the business money. It damages team morale.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's 2 ends of this. One, it's supporting performance, giving the
Yeah.
person so that they know what they need to be achieving. But the other end of it is,
Yeah.
from the business standpoint, is to work out if this person is meeting
Yeah.
standards. But if you don't have clear goals and milestones, then you can't do that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that's absolutely bang on. That's bang on the money, Mike, because without those clear goals and milestones set, it's difficult. And, when you're starting and joining a new business, you want clarity. You kind of want to know how you're performing immediately, because there's that
Yeah.
anxiety piece of you're working towards a probation, right? You want to make sure that you are ticking off these milestones so that when this probation comes, it's going to be a positive meeting for yourself if you're joining the business. But equally, if you're the business that's brought in this person, you want to ensure that these drivers and these objectives are being met, and
Mm.
we're on to a successful recruit that's going to be contributing to the business in a positive light day one. So I really love those points. I just wanted to add perhaps one which aligns within those clear
Mm.
goals, but it's just a little sub point, which is just identifying any sort of early wins to help boost confidence when people are working towards these milestones.
Yeah.
So an example could be, if you work within the recruitment market and, your milestone, it could be, a certain job target. But what could be an early win, before we get that vacancy, maybe we've booked on a meeting.
Yeah.
So that could be something that we could identify within these within these objectives that we could use to, make the person that was joining the team feel really good within themselves. Maybe it's really positive conversations, right? So
Yeah.
I know that that's another point within itself, but when people are working towards these objectives to these objectives, it's important for us to try find other ways to keep them positive along the journey too.
100%. 100%. And what you said there, it's important for us. It is definitely like the ownership of all of this is on the sales leader. Like one of the things that we do in our business, which I think works really well, is new starters at the end of the day, they will create 3 positives of the day and 3 things that they felt that they improved on. And it could be anything in relation to the job, which keeps morale high. It makes them feel like they're moving forward, which they are, as we're identifying improvement areas. But like the sales leader's got to encourage that and got to put that into place. But it doesn't happen if like there isn't milestones and there isn't. Has to be like clarity is just so important. So important for everyone. Everyone's got to know what they need to do and the why behind it. I think that's everything on these
Mike,
points. Unless you've got anything else.
No, absolutely. I think it's a really good way for us to, round off today's episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, to all our listeners, if it's your first time listening to our podcast, we do have a tradition that we go by every week. We've got, interview questions and sales preparation tips. And Mike, I believe the honor is yours this week, in the sense of, providing, our listeners any form of good interview questions. So, what do you recommend to our audience this week?
So, the context of this, and this is just a belief of mine, is that if you're in sales, everyone knows it's really tough. You get loads of rejection, but the needs for me, like the best salespeople, that they built resilience through their life. I mean, I've got to take you, right. So you were living in Zimbabwe and you moved over here. How old were you when you moved over?
19, 18,
19, young lad.
Yeah.
Still not really aware of the world and all that sort of stuff. You come into a new country, like that will have shaped your resilience. Like 100%. 100% it has, right? The question I like to ask in an interview is, what are the things that have happened to you, either personally or professionally, that have had the biggest impact on shaping your resilience? Because if people can't answer that question, it's depending on the type of job they're going for, it's gonna be a real eye-opener. If people can't point to anything or a number of things that have helped build their resilience, then there's a question mark as to whether they've got the underlying steel, the minerals and the grit that is required in the current climate, I would say. Now, obviously, that's just my opinion. People can disagree with it, whatever. But yeah, that's a question I really like asking, and you get some cracking answers from it as well.
Yeah.
You get a feel for how open people are. You get a feel for what things might have happened personally, which you create a better relationship with the candidate. But yeah, that would be my one for this week. So hopefully people use it, see how they get on.
Yeah, it's a fantastic question, Mike. I absolutely love it. Great work.
Cool. Good. Right. Thank you, everyone. So we're going to be back next week with the next 3 pillars of an effective onboarding process. So we've covered 3 today. We've got another 3 to cover next week. So please come back and listen, and have a great week to everyone that has tuned in today.
Cheers. Bye, everyone.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Recruitment Roundup podcast. Thank you very much for listening to the show, to watching the show. We really appreciate your support. It would be absolutely fantastic if you could give us a rating on Apple, on Spotify, give us a review. Any feedback really helps and is massively appreciated. So thank you once again for joining us, and we will hopefully see you again next week.